What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. I am your host, Chris Raybon of the Action Network, and this is our NFL Player Projections podcast for week number 13. On this show, we're going to run through our top five at each skill position, discuss players we're especially high and low on this week, and we'll throw out a player prop for each position as well. Both went 1-1 last week, but got to bring in my guy, Sean Kerner, one of the top fantasy rankers in the game, the odds maker. Sean, what's going on? How's your holiday?
What's up? It was pretty good. Had Thanksgiving here, so that was fun. Had good times with family. But, when it comes to football, I am definitely happy. Week 12 is over. Got my ass kicked. Definitely ready for week 13. I limited my play, so I only had like a few plays out there, so I only lost a couple units. But, man, got a few things way wrong. How was your week 12 and Thanksgiving?
The Thanksgiving was not great for me. I missed on both of my props, which I actually felt really good about. Jordan Love getting throwing a pick, but then he had positive game script the whole time, and Howell not going over his completions prop. But that game got so out of hand that it was just. But rebounded on Sunday, and it was rough. I know you're feeling a little. You had a fun night last night. We're recording this on Tuesday. I had a rough Saturday night.
Yeah.
So, I apologize to everyone about convincing me if I wasn't my usual self. But, it was a rough Saturday night.
Fun
back
Saturday
at
night, just a rough Sunday morning, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. But we back. And we'll get it going here with the quarterback position. Sean, who you got in your top five for week number 13?
I got Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, and Tua.
Yep, same order, but same players, different order for me. I got Dak number 1,
nice.
Playing really well. Mahomes 2, Tua 3, Hurts down to 4. Guess my motto is that San Francisco defense, nothing to play around with. I know Hurts has been great. I actually got a Hurts MVP ticket that looks pretty good right now because
nice.
they keep winning and he keeps scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Which, I needed him to throw more this year, and he's been doing that, even if he hasn't always had the yardage. So feeling good about that. But he's my quarterback 4 for this week to open the week against San Francisco. Tough matchup. And then CJ clocks in at number 5. So I think that's first time he's been in both of our top 5.
Oh, yeah, which is surprising. He's been playing like a top 5 quarterback. But yeah, we have 6 teams on a bye this week. There's some pretty good quarterbacks out. So not shocked. I'm pleased to see him finally in our top 5.
All right, who you high on?
I high on Kenny Pickett this week. He's my QB 15 to open the week. Sounds like he's dealing with some ankle discomfort, so he's questionable. I'm guessing he plays through it. He hasn't really been using his legs much this year either, so hopefully he can play through it. But sure enough, the first game after they fired Matt Canada was Kenny Pickett's best game of the season. The whole entire Steelers offense, best game of the season. So I think there's 6 teams on bye this week, so he's sort of in the streamers discussion this week. He has all of his pass catchers healthy now with Pat Freiermuth back, had a massive game, 9 catches, 120 yards. So things are looking up for Pickett and the Steelers offense. The one concern is, again, he didn't have any touchdowns. That's one of the frustrating things with Pickett is he doesn't really provide many multi-touchdown games, but that could change here, against the Cardinals. I'm guessing we will see a big running game with, Najee and Jalen Warren, but maybe Pickett can find a couple touchdowns here. So he sneaks into the streamer discussion for me at QB 15 to open the week.
Yeah, it's that kind of week when Kenny Pickett is being talked about as a guy we're high on. But, I like buying low on that, offensive coordinator change against an Arizona defense that, I think we saw, last week and have repeatedly. They can't really stop anybody. Now they lost Kaiser White, who was wearing the green dot. I think he is he still out? Looks like, he's on IR. So that's
big loss.
That's rough. Yeah. All right. I'm high on Jared Goff, and I know he's been playing poorly. Not too much of a difference. I'm pretty in line with ECR, but I am QB 11 with Goff. His ECR is QB 12 going up against the Saints. And we have to remember Marshawn Lattimore is on injured reserve, so it makes this matchup a lot easier. It's also indoors, which even though it's on the road for Goff, so That's always a positive. We know he struggles a bit outdoors, especially in the winter. And the New Orleans Saints tend to play man coverage at one of the highest rates in the league. And Jared Goff, passer rating against man coverage 105, against zone it's 89 per FTN fantasy. His adjusted yards per attempt 7.6 versus man, 6.5 versus zone. So I do think it's a good matchup for Goff to kind of get back, even though it's probably the toughest defense he's faced over the last 3. He hasn't been playing well. I think he gets back to it in this one. So going with Goff here.
Yeah, back-to-back 3 turnover games, right? Did he lose 3 fumbles?
I think he lost at least 2.
At least 2, yeah.
In that Packer game. Yeah, I think it was 2. But he hasn't been playing well.
Right. But again, 6 teams are on bye. You got to do what you got to do. And that's a good point. He is on the road, but at least it's indoors. Yep. This is certainly the time of year where if he's outdoors and there's, some weather, I'll be looking to fade him. But this definitely seems like a bounce back spot for him.
All right, who are you low on at quarterback?
I'm low on the other quarterback in that game, Derek Carr. I have him as my QB 18. I think he's certainly in the streamer discussion this week. It's just one of those weeks. But I think that you probably have to stay away from him, especially, just the wide receiver room has been decimated the past few weeks. Michael Thomas is already out on IR, but, Olave suffered that concussion, so it's really dicey that he's going to be able to suit up this week. And even Rashid Shaheed is banged up with a quad injury. So if one or both those players miss, it's going to be brutal. He's going to have A.T. Perry, Lynn Bowden, and Keith Kirkwood running routes out there. So that's going to be very tough to trust Derek Carr if that happens. So I'm low on him to start the week. And I think that, the streamers guys this week, unfortunately, are guys like, Baker Mayfield, Kenny Pickett. But I'd probably stay away from Derek Carr right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking rough for the Saints team. I mean, offensive injuries, defensive injuries. They lost that game to the Falcons to lose their, first place. So this is it's a rough time for the Saints. But maybe Taysom will ball out.
Yeah.
I am low on. I feel like I've been saying this like every week, but Geno Smith. He has yet another really difficult matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, who we already know one of the best defenses in the league. And Dallas also plays a ton of man coverage, which has given the Seahawks and Geno Smith particular trouble this year. He's been generally better against zone. His passer rating's 82 against man, 94 against zone. And Dallas is the number 3 defense overall, number 6 in DVOA against the pass. So it's another spot where not really expecting, what we had from Geno for much of last year. I think that a lot of that was like a product of playing a much easier schedule for the, good part of last year. And then he struggled in some of the division games and against San Francisco. And now you're seeing against these better teams again, Geno Smith is struggling. I don't know where the health is of, Metcalf, Lockett, and those guys. Metcalf, since that rib injury, he hasn't looked right. And in Lockett, he's been kind of on and off the injury report. So I don't know if the receivers are helping anything, but I think this is another week where if you can avoid starting Geno, I would absolutely do so.
Yeah, I mean, faced the Niners last week, Cowboys this week, have to face the Niners again next week. Do you think that he could potentially get benched at some point, or are we not there yet?
I don't think we're there. I think he's too much. Like, they've invested in him. What, they give him like a $3 or $50 million contract as the leader. I think he's their leader. He's just, he's going through it, and they're going to have to kind of get back to maybe they try to run the ball more. They have two good backs, but I don't think he's going to get benched. Nah.
Yeah.
All right, where are you going for the prop?
Let's go with a Jordan Love prop. He's been cooking lately. Has a tougher matchup against the Chiefs, but they might need to throw. So just curious where you're opening the week with his passing yard projection. But I have it around. Let's go with 232.5 passing yards for Jordan Love.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Let me see, because I know that I have a lot of respect for this Chiefs defense lately. They've been playing really well.
Absolutely. But so is Love. I mean, Christian Watson finally showing some signs of life last week.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm like right there. So
Nice.
let me see what I
That
want
makes
to
me feel better
do.
about my projection because I could have gone, 220 to 250 here.
Yeah, I mean, Love has generally been in that 230 range. I think his average is around there. Let me see. I'm gonna go. I'll go over just because I think you could get into a
Yeah.
pass heavy game script with him, and that they haven't been underdogs by until last week. That was the first week they'd been underdog by more than 3.5,
Hmm.
they didn't get a negative game script. So this could be their
Wow.
biggest negative game script. They are six
Yeah.
and a half point dogs at home, but yeah, I'll go over. But that's a really good
Yeah.
line. All right, running back, we got top five.
Number one's obvious, Christian McCaffrey. And then number two, Travis Etienne, but he's been banged up, so I don't know if he's going to stay at number two for me. And then I have Austin Eckler, Alvin Kamara, and then Rashad White. Welcome to the top five.
Ooh, nice. I have McCaffrey, ETN, Eckler, Alvin Kamara, and Tony Pollard back in the top five.
Nice.
Who are you high on?
I'm high on Ramondre Stevenson. He's in my top 10 right now. He's my RB9. Gets to face the Chargers here. But he's really been trending up the past few weeks. It was really just, the lone bright spot in this dumpster fire of a Patriots offense. But, he's starting to pull away from Zeke a bit on early downs. We've seen his rushing share go up pretty significantly for 3 straight weeks now. He's also seen, 4 more targets in 6 straight games now. So in what will probably be a negative game script, although we can never tell for Charger games. He's still in play there. Should see plenty of receiving work. So yeah, just with so many teams on bye, he opens the week inside my top 10, and he's just been looking a lot better lately. So I think we can view him as a low end RB1 this week. Gets a good matchup against the Chargers here.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think the Chargers are better at run defense, but they did lose. Bosa looks like he's going to be out, so it's still, I think, for the Patriots, they have to go on the ground at this point. Like,
Yes, they have to. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't like the Chargers. It's a misconception that the Chargers are like bad. Like, they were bad most of last year. They've been better for the most part this year. They're not like that. Like, what were they, bottom three last year? Yeah. I'm high on Zach Moss. He should be seeing back. He should probably start again now. Looks like Jonathan Taylor more than likely is going to miss some time with a thumb injury. Obviously, as a running back, that's not an ideal injury.
No.
But Zach Moss, against what is a strong Tennessee run defense, had 23 carries for 165 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first matchup against Tennessee. Also caught 2 passes for 30 yards. So he had nearly 200 scrimmage yards with 2 touchdowns on 25 touches against the Titans in the last matchup. This Colts team's been pretty solid, a lot better than expected. So I think Moss, as long as he's going to be back in that lead role, you got to pay attention to him. He's still sitting there outside the top 30 backs in consensus, but he'll definitely be an RB2, assuming Taylor does miss time.
Yeah, he. It sounds like Taylor's getting surgery, so he's absolutely missing this week, and they're saying he's going to be out like 2 to 3 games.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah.
So if you've been stashing Zach Moss, this is what you've been waiting for. But Moss was starting to eat into his workload last week. I don't know if like Taylor heard it in game, and that's why they were giving Moss more work, but it looked like they were using more of a 50-50 committee again. So that was interesting before the injury. I just don't know if that was due to that or if that was the plan going forward. But either way, fire up Moss as an RB2 for the next 2 to 3 weeks, it sounds like.
All right, who are you low on?
I'm low on James Conner, which is a bit disappointing because this is a revenge game at Pittsburgh. But he's my RB27 just because, Conner has been great this season when healthy. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry, but, last week's usage was a huge concern for his rest of season value. It looks like they're getting their, newly acquired Michael Carter involved. He nearly split the early down work with Conner. That part of that could have been just due to the blowout. But it was, Carter and DeMercado really handling all of the, the passing down work. Fortunately, Conner managed to catch 4 passes, which was kind of fluky. Kyler didn't scramble at all that game. He had 0 scrambles, which is kind of weird. So he was opting to dump it off to his running backs a lot more. But Connor, we can't really bank on that usage for Connor going forward. So in what could be, a trailing game script at Pittsburgh, his floor is really low right now. So, I viewed him as like an RB2 up to this point, but right now, man, he's on that RB3 flex range. And if this trend continues, it's going to be really bad news from rest of the season.
Yeah. Connor, I mean, it was a blowout, but we saw Michael Carter cut into his early down work, which was not, Demercado cut into the early down work and playing some third down. So I'm sure he'll get a few more carries with the game, not such a blowout, but yeah, he's not a guy that you can really bank on for consistent usage this day and age in that Arizona backfield. And who knows? I mean, they might be trying to tank,
Right.
stealth tank, quiet quit, whatever you call it. So yeah, I agree. I'm low on Joe Mixon this week. He is obviously struggling, with that Cincinnati offensive line not opening many holes in the run game. And, now with Jake Browning replacing Joe Burrow, you're talking about your total team projected score taking a big hit. So I have Mixon as my RB 27 to open the week, which is easily the lowest I've had him all year.
Yeah.
And, not only has it been a struggle to run against Jacksonville's the number one team in terms of run defense, DVOA, according to FTN, and Mixon has been seeing a bit of a dip in his passing game usage, 45% route participation rate over the last 2 games. That's about a little over 10% lower than what he had been seeing prior. For his season average is around 56%. So Travion Williams has been mixing in a little more. I know Zach Taylor said, we got to get this run game going. So I wonder if they start mixing in Williams or maybe even Chase Brown a little bit. So either way, I think Mixon trending down, really tough matchup. So yeah, he's more of a flex this week than a surefire RB2 even. He's just really hard to trust right now in a tough matchup.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. RB25. Yeah, obviously they want to run it more with Browning under center, but just, Mixon's not effective. So it's just setting up second and long, third and long for Jake Browning, which is not good. So yeah, I'm way low on Mixon as well.
Let's go with a really interesting one, Najee Harris. So first game with no Canada, Jaylen Warren fumbles in the red zone. Najee has a breakout game. So let's go with Najee Harris's rushing yards, 56.5.
Ooh. That's a good line. I'm a little bit over that. So I'm going to go over. I hope he doesn't go over. I still have under 950 rushing yards or something ridiculous for him. He's making it close. So I hope he goes under, but I'm slightly over that.
All right. Yeah, it's a tough one because, how much of, now I feel like you got to play him anyway, but how did the Warren fumble kind of impact the workload? It's tough to, and then, is this team going to be more run heavy? It is the Cardinals. So yeah, a lot of things going on, but that's an interesting one. All right. We'll get to receiver in a moment, but just want to remind everyone the holiday season is right around the corner and it's about to get busy. Don't let that stop you from sticking to your habits and being the best version of yourself. That's where our friends at Caldera Lab come in. 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at night can be all the difference you need for clearer skin. These guys are the best in the skincare game. And they have an easy routine to keep your face looking fresh, no matter your schedule. It's just 3 steps. Number 1 is the clean slate, which is a face wash to start and end your day. 2, the base layer, which is a daily moisturizer to hydrate your skin. And 3 is the good, which is an eye serum you can put on at night to help your skin look tighter and smoother. Plus, what's a better gift than clear skin? Join the 100,000 men who trust Caldera Lab to show your best self this holiday season. And just for our listeners, we have an exclusive deal. You can use code TAN at calderalab.com for 20% off right now. That's 20% off with code TAN at calderalab.com. Make unforgettable first impressions with Caldera Lab. Sean, who you got in your top 5 at wide receiver?
The top 5 is Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Michael Pittman.
Ooh, Michael Pittman. Love it. Yeah, we were talking about him last week. He's
It's about
putting up
time.
like 7-8 catches every single week. Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, and Keenan Allen.
Nice.
Who are you high at wide receiver?
I'm high on Michael Pittman's teammate, Josh Downs. He's really high for me. I have him wide receiver 23 against the Titans. And he had been dealing with a knee injury, back in like week 8, I think it was. So this was actually the first full game he's played since week 8. And he posted, a solid 5-catch, 43-yard line. But he's more of like a high floor player, especially in like full PPR formats where you're likely going to get 4 to 5 receptions every week going forward. And, he's seen a target rate of 25% over the last 5 games. Obviously, like he and Minshew are clicking. And the passing offense really just flows through Michael Pittman and Josh Downs. And with, Jonathan Taylor potentially missing a few games, it might lead to a couple more pass attempts than normal, which will help Downs out. And, this is a pass funnel defense in the Titans. So this is a great spot to fire up Downs as like a low end wide receiver 2. And I think rest of the season, I think he could be a solid wide receiver 3, especially in, full PPR formats.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely coming on strong. I know he's dealing with that injury, but especially with Taylor out, like you said, they're going to have to rely on him more. I'm just going back to Tank Dell again. I have him wide receiver 6. He's wide receiver 10. Every week I feel like we start too low on Tank Dell, and he had 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown last week. Doesn't look too crazy. Also had a carry for 12 yards, but he had a 58-yard catch wiped out and just, the referees were just, I don't even have to talk about it. Houston fans or anyone who is, backing Houston in that game knows what it is, but Tank Dell essentially left a lot of meat on the bone. He scored in 4 straight games. He has caught at least 5 passes in 4 straight games. And I think, this guy is just going to keep producing, and, a little bit of a tougher matchup against Denver, but you're indoors, you're in Houston. And Tank Dell continues to be on the field and establishing himself as one of the best receivers, not just best rookies, best receivers in the game. He passes the eye test, so I have no question that he'll get open regardless of who he's going up against. So though he moves around a lot, so he should be able to avoid Patrick Surtain for the most part. But like me some Tank Dell yet again, my wide receiver 6.
I'm surprised we keep ended up like +4, +5 or better against ECR every week on him, but we're running out of room with him, approaching the top 5, and everybody's catching up to it. But it's been surprising to see how slow the market has been to treat him like a top 10 receiver.
Yeah, I think he ended up, like, by the end of the week, I think he ended up being the number 10 in ECR. But he opened in like the 20s, and it's
weird.
But love him yet again. I think he's going to keep producing. Who are you low on?
I'm low on DeAndre Hopkins. He's my wide receiver 28, and he's really come back down to earth ever since Will Levis's debut, where he just had a massive game. I think he had like 3 or 4 touchdowns, but Levis is now thrown for fewer than 200 yards in 3 straight games. And they're only 2-point home dogs this week, so they're probably going to lean on the run and Derrick Henry again here, which hurts Hopkins' upside, of course. But Hopkins' routes run rate has really just stabilized around 80%. Which is not good. The Titans are rotating their wide receivers very heavily, including Hopkins. He's still seeing, a healthy target rate, but being in a run-heavy offense, missing 20% of the dropbacks is a pretty big deal. So, he's all the way down more in the wide receiver 3 range for me on a week with, 6 teams on bye. So he's a guy that's just trending down just based on his, playing time and, the Titans being a run-heavy team. So, I'm pretty low on D-Hop this week.
Yeah, that's kind of when you have a rookie quarterback, it's, feast or famine. He had that big game again in the first Levis start, but really hasn't been able to consistently rep or produce, so I totally get it. I am low on Drake London this week. He is the wide receiver 32 in ECR. He's just kind of outside that. He's in the low 30s for me, just outside that startable range. And in 12-team leagues, if you're starting 3 wide receivers, because this Jet defense, top 6 in DVOA against wide receivers. They're one of the fewest targets per game to wideouts, 3rd fewest catches per game to wideouts, just 10.3. The fewest yards per game combined to opposing wide receivers at 116.5, and the fewest touchdowns, just over a quarter touchdown per game total for all wide receivers going against the Jets. So, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Drake London is not. So I don't, I know they had decent, pretty big games against the Jets, but totally different player, totally different matchup. And they've been shut down against everyone else with Sauce and DJ Reed. Expecting that to continue. So Drake London, low on him this week. Where are you going for our wide receiver prop?
Let's go with a wide receiver from that game. Let's go with Garrett Wilson's receiving yards. I mean, God, you just can't catch a break with his quarterbacks. But Tim Boyle is his quarterback now, and he went 7 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown last week. But this is a game that I might be able to lean on the run even more. Should be a close game. So curious where you have him. But I have his receiving yards at 46.5 right now.
I'm a little over that, actually, surprisingly. So I'll roll with that. He's running the people he's running routes with, like Brownlee, Gibson, Conklin, Ruckert. I mean, none of these guys are going to get targets. About Brownlee.
He made some amazing catches in training camp.
Okay. Oh no, I'm going to talk about him.
Oh really?
On our next pod, on our fantasy preview pod, I'll talk about him. But yeah, but still, low target, expected target rate until he shows anything different in the regular season. So yeah, I'm a little over that with Garrett Wilson. So I'll go over. All right, tight end. Who you got? Top 5.
Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Trey McBride, Evan Ingram, and Sam Laporta.
I have Kelce, McBride, Kittle, Jake Ferguson, and Sam Laporta.
Nice.
Who are you high on?
I'm high on a guy that just missed the top 5, but we really need to start talking about this guy. It's David Njoku. He's my tight end 8, facing the Rams this week, and he's just been playing at a high level for several weeks now. DTR has been targeting him at a very high rate, so Njoku's seen a 27% target rate over the last 6 games. Plus, it sounds like Mark Cooper's dealing with a rib injury, could be limited here or even out. That's just going to lead to even more targets for Njoku, but this is also just a great matchup against the Rams. They ranked 29th in DVOA against tight ends, so he's a guy that's he's been pushing top 5 value now for several weeks. So about time to give Njoku his props, and he's certainly top 10 tight end going forward, I think.
Yeah, he's my tight end 9, so I'm right there with you. Not sure who's going to start. Is it going to be Flacco this week or?
Ooh, maybe. Yeah. That might help him out a little bit. I don't know.
I can't.
When's the last time Flacco started? Was it last year?
Was it the Jets at some point? I feel like I remember a Jet start.
Yeah, like one start, right? Last year.
Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, he started the first 3 games.
Oh yeah, and they were throwing a ton. I remember.
He was averaging like 300 yards a game too.
Yeah, he was in for that game. I think where they came back against the Browns, like that 1% chance.
Yeah.
And now he's on the Browns. I've been noticing that too. Njoku's been pretty consistently kind of right around that tight end 10 landmark, and now with the buys and everything, he's inside that top 10 for me as well. I'm high on Jake Ferguson this week. He is inside my top 5. He's outside it in ECR, and I know he's had a couple of quiet games, but still running around an 81% of the dropbacks since the bye, and is tied for second in the league with 17 red zone targets. So now you have the Dallas Cowboys, home favorite. Home favorites, just like it helps running backs because you have that higher touchdown probability. It tends to help tight ends too, because again, you have a high tight end probability at home. So like Ferguson to bounce back this week. Seattle giving up the 11th most receiving yards to tight ends. But with guys like Witherspoon and Woolen playing cornerback, I do think it makes sense to look, over the middle at Ferguson and what should be a little bit better of a matchup than some of the wide receivers for Dak this week. So going with Jake.
Yeah, I think Peyton Hendershot might be returning. Would that impact him at all? At this point, Jake Ferguson is just the guy, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, because we talked about this at the onset of the year that
Mm-hmm.
we thought Ferguson was eventually going to take over that Dalton Schultz role, and he has.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't really see anything changing. You know, they've had Schoonmaker behind Ferguson, just like Hendershot was a rookie last year, and hasn't really cut into it too much either. So, yeah, I think it's. I don't see any reason for anything to change too much. But either way, like him against this Seahawk team, who you low on?
Speaking of Dalton Schultz, he's who I'm low on this week. He opens up as my tight end 10. So obviously, if you have him, he's still a low end tight end 1 option. But I'm not sure what the hell happened last week, but he only had a 48% route participation. Brevin Jordan saw a huge increase with the 41% route participation. I didn't see anything injury related. But, Schultz has seen his target rate plummet to 9% over the past 2 games. So something fishy is going on there. And the Texans might finally have all 4 wide receivers healthy for the first time since week 1. Will have less of an impact on Schultz, but could, ding his target rate a little bit. Now, I'm sure he's going to bounce back with an 80%, routes run rate and go off here. But still, it's just a concerning trend. So I think if we see this again where his routes run rate is, say, below 60% again, that's when I'll be really concerned. But for now, we just have to be a little bit careful with him. But again, he's still my tight end 10, still a low end tight end 1, but something to monitor for sure.
Yeah, I think he was dealing with a hamstring.
Oh, so it was injury. Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, so it's tough because like a lot of these guys who are dealing with nagging injuries, they don't pop up on the injury report. So it's it's tough to fully know. But I do know Schultz was dealing with a hamstring, in the last couple of weeks. So
Gotcha.
I'm guessing that's what's been the issue. But yeah, I mean, we've seen this with guys like DK Metcalf will be off the injury report, and he's obviously not 100%. Terry McLaurin with that I think it was a toe injury or something. I think it was turf toe or something. He hasn't been on the injury report, but he doesn't look 100%. So might be another one of these situations where you're just not seeing Schultz pop on the injury report. But I think he's a little bit banged up. But yeah, it's tough because this Bronco team is a great matchup for opposing tight ends. So definitely something to monitor with Schultz to see if we get any confirmation of what exactly has been going on. I'm low on Tyler Conklin this week. He is the tight end 16 in consensus. He's right outside my top 20. He's starting to see a dip in playing time as well, with Ruckert seeing more playing time. Conklin just 56% of the routes, 69% of the pass plays the last 2 games. He's usually at about a 70% route participation rate, so losing about 15%, not ideal, especially in this Jet offense. So he's a guy that, he was somewhat productive a little earlier, but now, Zach Wilson's gone, new quarterbacks taking over, playing time going down. Nothing you can really do with him. Let's see. What are we going to do for the prop? Let's go with Kyle Pitts, the usual guy. We have no idea how to project. 35.5.
I'm 10 yards lower. I wrote down 25. The Falcons just aren't going to throw the ball. Why would they here? I just think this is going to be a run-heavy game plan. Get the hell out of there with the close win. So, yeah, I'll take the under there. But he has a wide range of outcomes, so.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets, they've been good against receivers and a little not less good against tight ends. But, yeah, you're not expecting much from the Falcon pass game. But I think Pitts' median this year is 41. So, it's boom or bust kind of guy. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Jonnu's playing time took a pretty big hit.
Yeah, well, the Parker Hesse factor. They got
kidding. I didn't factor that in. But, yeah, that might be semi-good news for Pitts going forward, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he's right on that fringe. So, it's, people are going to have to think about starting him this week. I have him as tight end 12, so in a deeper league, I think you do still start him, but it's rough.
Not what people wanted when they drafted him. What was his ADP like? Tight end 6, 7? He was right around there, right? Like Darren Waller.
Yep.
Yeah, rough.
Always a shit show, that position. All right. That is going to do it for our Week 13 NFL Player Projections episode of the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. For more fantasy content from Sean and I, be sure to check our full fantasy preview episode that is out now, but it's over on the Fantasy Flex podcast channel. If you're into betting, my weekly betting preview episode with Stuckey will drop right here on Thursday. And also be sure to check out the Action Network Discord server. I know Sean has been really active on that. Link in the episode description. ActionNetwork.com for all of our NFL fantasy and betting content. FantasyLabs.com for our DFS tools and models. You can find Sean on X at _oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon, and we're at those same handles on the free, award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.